When my baby came into this world far too early, my hands shook as I typed the words into the family group chat. "We're in the NICU. Please pray." That was it. Simple, honest. A quiet plea that I thought would bring everyone rushing to my side. Instead, the first response I got was a string of vacation photos from my Aunt Carol. Not a word about the baby. Not a single question about whether she was breathing or even alive. Just her smiling on the beaches of Maui, sipping piña coladas, showing off palm trees and sunsets, hashtags and all. That's how my daughter's fight for life began, with silence from the very people I thought I could count on. For the first week, I sat beside machines I didn't understand, listening to alarms that made my heart race every time they went off, watching my fragile little girl through glass walls. She weighed barely 2 pounds, her skin so thin I could see the tiny blue rivers of veins beneath the surface. I wasn't prepared for that. No one is. You imagine giving birth, holding your baby close, hearing their first cry, sending proud texts to family. Instead, I sat in the hum of machines, holding my breath like my quietness might help her survive. And I was alone. Completely, physically alone. Not one person showed up. Not my cousin Hannah, who lived 20 minutes away and had once called me at midnight when her boyfriend kicked her out. Not my brother Mark, who I had driven 6 hours for when he totaled his car and had no way home. Not even Carol's daughter, who lived in my guest room for a semester rent-free while she figured out life. Nobody. For weeks, the only people who stood beside me were nurses and doctors. My husband was trapped in Seattle finishing a contract we couldn't afford to break. He called every night, voice heavy with guilt, but I kept telling him I was fine. I wasn't. I was eating vending machine snacks, showering in hospital bathrooms, sleeping in a folding chair, and praying my baby, whom we named Chloe, would live through the night. Not one person even asked what we named her. 31 days passed before anything changed. I sat in the cafeteria with a cold cup of coffee, scrolling through photos of Chloe the nurses helped me take. She looked stronger, a little bigger, still covered in wires, but I could finally see the spark of life in her. That's when my phone lit up. 84 missed calls, dozens of texts, and one message from Mark. "Answer. This is bad." My stomach sank. I called him back, and his words hit like a freight train. "Dad collapsed in the driveway. Brain bleed. He's in surgery." My mind went blank. I asked who was with him. He rattled off a list. Mom, Carol, cousins, even Hannah. They had all rushed to the hospital in minutes. They could show up for him, just not for Chloe. Then came the part I knew was coming. "You need to come. Mom's falling apart. We need you." Not one word about my daughter. Not a single, "How are you holding up?" Just, "We need you." I reminded him that I had been in the NICU for 31 days, that Chloe was born 2 pounds, that I hadn't left her side. He mumbled excuses. "We thought you didn't want visitors. Things have been busy. Carol just got back from Hawaii." Busy, I almost laughed, as if silence wasn't louder than anything else. I told him I wasn't leaving Chloe. Not now. Not ever. I wished Dad well, but I made it clear. This time, they were on their own. When I hung up, the calls kept pouring in. Guilt-tripping, begging, rambling. I deleted them one by one. I didn't feel rage anymore, just clarity. For years, I had been the fixer, the peacemaker, the one who paid bills when they couldn't, who showed up when nobody else did. And when my baby was fighting for her life, they gave me nothing. So that was it. I turned my ringer off, slid my phone into my pocket, and walked upstairs to Chloe's room. She was breathing on her own for the first time. I stood there, staring at her tiny chest rising steady and slow, and I realized I didn't owe anyone in that family a single thing anymore. The next days were heavy. My phone went silent after the flood of calls, as if they had flipped a switch and decided if I wouldn't cave, I wasn't worth the effort. They didn't even bother to update me on whether Dad made it. And I didn't ask. Because the only heartbeat that mattered was the one on the monitor in front of me. A few days later, Carol showed up to the hospital unannounced. The nurses told me she waltzed in with designer sunglasses and a shopping bag. She didn't ask to see Chloe, didn't ask how I was holding up. She just dropped off some overpriced cookies at the nurse's desk like it was a housewarming gift and left. That was her big show of support. Later that night, Mark texted me, "So you're just cutting everyone off now? After everything we've done for you?" I stared at that message for a long time. Everything meant me bailing him out financially, fixing his resume, paying for his groceries when his wife was sick. It meant me carrying them on my back. I texted back one sentence. "You left me alone when my daughter was fighting to live. I'm just doing what you taught me." Then I blocked his number. Something shifted inside me. That night, I logged into the tuition account I had been funding for Mark's son. I canceled every payment. Then I logged into the account I had been using to help Hannah with rent. Gone. No warnings, no explanations. Let the bills roll in, let them scramble. For the first time in my life, I wasn't their safety net, and it felt like freedom. Days later, chaos erupted in the family group chat. My grandfather, quiet, old school, the only one who never played games, had called everyone to his house. No one knew why. When they arrived, he handed out folders. His new will, everything, the house, the land in Vermont, the investments, was going to Chloe. Not to me, to her. Because he said she was the only innocent one left, the only one who deserved a clean start. The chat exploded with rage, Carol in all caps, Hannah whining about tradition, Mark spamming question marks. Not one mention of Chloe's health, not one. Just money, just property, just greed. I didn't answer. I sat in Chloe's room, holding her tiny body against my chest, feeling her heartbeat steady and warm. And I knew this wasn't about revenge. This was simply the cost of their choices. They made their decision when they left me alone. Now they were living with it. But I wasn't done yet, because while they obsessed over inheritance, I was planning something bigger. A new life. A job had opened up in Colorado at a children's hospital, the same city where my husband had been offered a permanent role. It came with relocation support and, most importantly, a specialized NICU follow-up program for Chloe. I filed the paperwork quietly. 2 days before we left, I sent one final message to the group chat. Not words, just a photo. Chloe, asleep in her car seat, 2 suitcases in the background. Within seconds, the responses flooded in. "Where are you going? Wait, is this a joke?" And finally, Mark. "You're seriously doing this after everything?" After everything. As if I hadn't been abandoned for 31 days. I didn't reply. The next day, Chloe was discharged and we boarded a plane. Just me, my husband, and our daughter. No looking back. Weeks passed. I started posting quiet updates online. Chloe smiling at the ceiling fan. Chloe napping in her crib. Chloe gaining weight, thriving. The family didn't comment, but I saw the profile views, the silent watching. They wanted back in, but I didn't let them. Not anymore. Then came the letter. Handwritten from my grandfather. He told me he was proud, told me he had finalized everything, the trust, the investments, into Chloe's name, untouchable by anyone else. He said, "They think you needed them, but the truth is, you were the one holding this family together. The moment you stopped, it all fell apart." I read that letter twice, then tucked it into Chloe's baby box beside her first NICU photo. Over time, the family started crumbling. Hannah hinted online about losing her apartment. Carol complained about bills. Mark's son dropped out of school mid-semester. I didn't celebrate it. I didn't even respond. Because this wasn't about vengeance anymore. It was about peace. They tried reaching out. A box of baby clothes from Carol. A long, guilt-laced email from Hannah. Even Mark showed up at my new doorstep one night, staring at me like he couldn't believe I had really built a life without them. I opened the door. He looked worn down, broken. "We miss you," he said, and I told him the truth. "You don't miss me. You miss the version of me who paid your bills and picked up the pieces. That version is gone." He didn't argue. He just turned and walked away. That night, I sat in Chloe's nursery, listening to her soft breathing, and I felt peace wash over me. For the first time in years, I wasn't drowning under the weight of carrying everyone else. My circle was small now, neighbors who brought soup, co-workers' spouses who dropped off clothes that fit, friends who checked in without needing something in return. And it was enough. More than enough. Chloe was thriving, laughing, gaining weight. The doctor said she was a miracle. And she was. Because she taught me the lesson I should have learned years ago. Family isn't proven by blood or big gestures. It's proven in the quiet days when no one is watching. And mine proved who they were when they didn't show up at all. So I stopped waiting, and I finally started living. If you've ever carried a family that wouldn't lift a finger for you, I want you to hear this. You don't owe them forever. You don't have to keep drowning just so they can stay afloat. Sometimes the best revenge isn't anger. It's building a life so full of peace that their absence doesn't even matter anymore. And that's exactly what I did.